So within my Christian walk, I have definitely run across people who do not believe in Christianity because of the Bible itself. In this episode of It Is Written, we're going to be talking about whether the contents of the Bible is truth or myth. Again, a quick disclaimer, if you were with me on the last episode, you know I have been reading through Beyond Opinion by Ravi Zacharias. There's going to be a link below in the description which you can buy this book for yourself. I've been using this book as a tool to answer some of these hard-hitting questions about the authenticity of the Bible. So the claim for Christianity that the Bible is truth is not a claim that comes from one's own individual's feelings, thoughts, and reasonings about the Bible, but the Bible itself claims truth. 2 Timothy chapter 3, starting in verse 16, all scripture is breathed out by God and profitable for teaching, reproof, correction, and training in righteousness. That right there is a truth claim. So to read the Bible as if it's only literature would be to incorrectly read the Bible in a fundamental sense. So what is important for us to do as readers is to use the same neutral, objective, and scientific approach with other ancient documents to the New Testament scriptures. You might be wanting to ask me, hey Ty, why are we only dealing with the New Testament text and not the Old Testament text? Well, a lot of historians agree that there is a lot of accuracy to the historical context written in the Old Testament. Well, in the New Testament, when we add on the claims of Jesus Christ being deity and that he actually rose from the dead, that's where scientists and historians start to pick and critique. Anyways, when we go ahead and use these neutral and objective approaches to analyzing the New Testament text, we find out that it proves to be remarkably reliable. So I want to be as transparent as possible. I want you to engage with me in the comment sections below. Listen, these approaches are going to be sociological as well as just reasoned out well. So go ahead and comment below on what you think of these approaches. Approach number 1, the state of the manuscripts. Go ahead, put side by side the New Testament text and old ancient documents or ancient writings such as, Homer, the Iliad. Listen to this. There are 500 New Testament copies that exist earlier than AD 500. Guess what the next most reliable text is? That's right, Homer, the Iliad, with only 50 copies deep. And historians regard the Homer, the Iliad as accurate representation of what happened during those times. Crazy, right? I believe what makes the difference is that the New Testament text includes miraculous events as well as deity claims to Jesus Christ. Furthermore, the New Testament texts or manuscripts that we have are all mutually reinforcing and consistent. Approach number 2, the literary styles of the gospel. If you read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they all suggest fact, not myth. Here's some homework for you. Go ahead, compare other mythic, pagan, or apocalyptic literature during that time, and you will see the uncanny differences between the two. For instance, the details within the scriptures of the first century Israel life could only be known by someone who was living during that time. If you don't believe me, look up John chapter 12, verse 3. Alrighty, let's deal with some social approaches to the New Testament text. Let's deal with the divinity of Jesus. Many people believe that the early Christians were the inventors of this new myth that Jesus is deity. If this is the case, then there at least has to be 2 or 3 generations between the historical account of Jesus and this new mythologized version of who Jesus is. Both the disciples and the enemies of Jesus would have great reasons to oppose this new myth. But we find no evidence of disagreement between the eyewitnesses and those generations in between. Here's a question you should ask yourself. If the divine nature of Jesus in the New Testament text is a myth, then who invented it? Since the Edict of Milan in 313 AD, Christians have been subject to persecution even today. You mention the name of Christ, you can get killed and beheaded. We see this overseas. No one invents this elaborate and practical joke in order to be beheaded and crucified. May I add, Jesus' 12 disciples were all martyred, except for Judas. And with that, let's do some challenges and thoughts, or what I call C&Ts. C&T number 1, don't be lazy, do your research. People, hear me well. I truly believe the topic we're talking about is a matter of life and death. So don't skim over and just find things that fit what you want to hear to be your deciding factor for eternity. C&T number 2, one of the great Christian apologists put it this way: Jesus is either a liar, Lord, or a lunatic. Jesus himself claims to be God, and if he is not, he has to be a madman. If he isn't God or a lunatic, then he has to be a liar, deceiving people by way of his lie. And then finally, if he's not a liar or lunatic, then he must be God. Because of the radical claims that Jesus makes in saying he is God, you can't just say Jesus was only a good moral historical figure. And then CNT number 3, and this is for everybody. Not agreeing to a radical claim doesn't make that claim less true. This is something we all have to understand, including myself. We are not the center of the universe. Do not allow our reasoning and our mind and how we view the world be the final authority on anything. And I know you, because I'm just like this. You might be like, Ty, duh, of course I don't think I'm the center of the universe. Well, let me talk to some of the atheists out there. Christians say that there is a God. We believe that God possesses all knowledge. So if you're saying you know for a fact that there is not a being who possesses all knowledge, that means you have all knowledge, therefore claiming to be the very thing you think does not exist. Man, that's all I had for this episode of It Is Written. Go ahead, subscribe to my YouTube channel, a like, comment on what you thought about the video, and I'll see you all here same time next week on It Is Written.